What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money. What we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network that connects literally everyone.
Big problem in payments is you don't have interoperability between networks, and that goes for blockchains as well, right? Blockchains can't solve this problem, right? Because blockchains are networks themselves.
You are not a blockchain.
That's not the solution to glue it all together.
Blockchains don't solve the interoperability problem by themselves.
As networks, they can't be a network of networks.
Internet of money, internet of value. Eventually, it is going to be a network of networks, interoperable, with the existing systems. It complements the existing systems.
So we need some kind of an internetworking protocol for payments.
Create that internet scale protocol to move digital assets.
Connect all of these various networks and can do multi-hop. Our bet is that Interledger protocol is going to be the protocol of choice for interoperability. Our bet is that this is going to be a successful interoperability protocol, a key component of this Internet of Value.
So in that way, it's a lot like TCP/IP.
So think of it as TCP/IP of blockchain.
Describe our work at Quant as laying the foundations with Overledger to build the Internet of Trust. We are honoring the original vision of the Internet by decentralizing it.
What we're doing is replacing the centralized web. Our technology is shaping the next evolution and generation of the internet.
I've always had an idea of creating an internet protocol for money, and they agreed. So we've got the US government involved, the Internet Engineering Task Force. They're the ones that endorsed and enabled TCP/IP to happen, the ones that basically created the protocols that run the internet.
They're looking to re-architect the internet.
Are you the web?
Yeah, we call it the internet of trust. So it's the next evolution of the internet.
And so it's already happening.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen, it's happening now.
Is the Finternet going to create a $10,000 XRP and $100,000 QNT explosion? Hey, I get it. Some of you guys in the comments type in things like, but when? When? Yeah, I get it. How about addressing the when? You know, for people that got into things like Intel, they had to wait about 15 years before that took off. But boy, oh boy, was that the greatest investment of their life. We're going to get into all the new key developments from the Quant network and address some things in regard to XRP as well.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Yeah.
How would you like to earn an extra $100, $200, or even $500 a day, even more than that? I have many friends that are earning money every single day trading futures on BTCC. It's a simple process, and even if you don't want to learn how to trade, you could follow a trader on the site and let him do the trading for you. Currently, I am following BlackRock, and no, it's not the Larry Fink BlackRock, that's just his name, but this gentleman has a win rate of 95.33%. His assets under management is a little over 96,000, so he has a lot to lose. Don't just follow the people that have very little to lose. Follow the ones that actually are consistently trading. This is currently full at the moment at 1,200 copy traders. So if you see this basically have an open slot, again, not financial advice, you may want to consider jumping into that. Here's why. As you also see, the last 7 days, his win rate is 100%. The last month, his win rate is 95.51%. And the last 3 months, he's doing about roughly 89%. Again, a lot of you guys want just a copy trader that you can basically follow. But again, don't set it and forget it. Learn copy trading. And again, I'm not trying to have any of you guys use your hard-earned money to lose anything. You don't know what you're doing? Don't jump into this. But there is money to be made, and don't use your nest egg for leverage trading. Use a separate portfolio. But I suggest learn how to trade. Earn you some extra money on BTCC. It's easy. You don't have to KYC, and you don't have to use a virtual private network VPN. This is a wonderful site. They've been around since 2011. Give them a shot. Also, when you earn that extra money, you can store that on your Decent wallet. The Decent wallet was not affected by the recent XRPL debacle, where the backdoor of many wallets was open and there was a breach. So Decent wallet was not affected by that. Decent wallet is as safe as you keep your seed phrase. It's a wonderful product, and you can get the discount by using the link. It's the only way to get the affiliate discount, and that is to use an affiliate link. So that link is popping up on the upper right side of your screen, and it is the one that you will use. You will also get free shipping. Pick you up a Decent wallet today. Secure your assets. If you don't have them stored in a wallet and sitting on an exchange, then you're at risk. So pick you one up today. Thank you. It's going to be a solid outline, so consider smashing that like. Let's get right into the material and why it matters to you. First thing is literally from this key document. Shout out to Quant Papa for providing it. In this one, you're going to see some things that are really, really eye-opening. So for one, in the document, you will see this specifically from the European Central Bank. What am I referring to? Well, let's zoom in all the way. Mentions specifically the Digital Euro Innovation Platform and the Outcome Report, Pioneers and Visionaries work streams. I've mentioned this before numerous times. I feel as though that Quant Network are the pioneers when it comes to this. You could also say, for example, that Ripple are also the pioneers for the Internet of Value. So Quant Internet of Trust, obviously Ripple Internet of Value. We have, of course, numerous times addressed the documentation dating all the way back to the late 80s, especially when it comes to David Schwartz. When we talk about these Ripple patents, or I should say, not even call it Ripple patents back in those days, but his distributed ledger technology patents. Again, think about all this, because when we talk about Quant Network specifically, we have found numerous documentation about how they're tied to the Internet Engineering Task Force, the IETF. These are the pioneers of the Internet. You're not just investing into a token with QNT. You're not just investing into a coin with XRP. The cool thing about it all is referencing how big this is moving forward, because you're investing into the next era of the Internet. Google was never able to tokenize that Internet in the past. Otherwise, they would have done that. And again, Google tied to things like Hedera with HBAR. Hedera is not even a distributed, it's not even a blockchain, it's a distributed ledger technology. So again, why do these things matter? Let's jump back into this PDF. So for one, you see here this, and it mentions, again, the pioneers. Now, one thing I want to point out is Quant Network here in a bit, because you're going to see how they're the only ones highlighted in this particular document, and that is so well worth pointing out. But for me, instead of explaining 41 pages of this stood out to me. The digital euro is designed to offer an exclusive, harmonized digital payment experience and to create a strong foundation for innovation across the euro area, making it easier for businesses to develop new services for users. The digital euro could also be seamlessly integrated with private payment solutions, giving people more choice and greater convenience. What would be some of those private payment solutions? How about this other area? In October 2024, the ECB launched the Digital Euro Innovation Platform to foster collaborations with the market in order to test ideas and explore innovative potential for that digital euro. References to be part of this initiative you had back from February to May of 2025 this year. The ECB coordinated 2 work streams, Visionaries and Pioneers. Again, think about how Quant stands out in that regard. Check out my many, many deep dives going back many years now about why Quant is literally a big player, part of that, probably the biggest player when it comes to specifically like interoperability, the orchestration of it all. And we'll reference more of this here in a bit. Now, what I want to do now is I'm going to bust into this B-roll. It's going to be brief, but I'm going to give you a comprehensive analysis of what I thought really stood out with this PDF. We're going to jump into that, and then we'll be back here in a bit, and then we'll get into the rest of this and even tie in some XRP here as well. So if you're not wanting to read that incredibly long pamphlet, I understand. I thought I would give you the main highlight of what I gathered, since I took the liberty of reading it all. So from what I gathered, Europe's payment world is shifting fast towards digital methods. And the Euro system, well, think about it. That includes the obvious one of the European Central Bank, that they are working on a digital euro to keep public money reliable, accessible, and sovereign in this changing landscape. It's not meant to replace cash or private payments, but to complement them. It promotes competition, financial inclusion, and resilience. Starting in November of 2023, they had a 2-year prep phase that began to test designs through real-world experiments, focusing on user-friendly features for people and businesses. If you're not aware of it, back in October 2024, the European Central Bank kicked off this innovation platform to team up with the private sector. They got over 100 applications and picked about 70 diverse participants like fintech firms, banks, merchants, IT companies, academics, and payment providers. Think about your Ripples with XRP, your Stellars with XLM, your Hederas, etc., etc. But it was from across the Euro area, and that was mostly Germany, from what I gathered, Italy, France, Spain, and Austria. But from February to May 2025, the work split into 2 streams. Hear me out. For one, there was the visionaries. For example, brainstorming big picture ideas, and pioneers, hands-on testing of, quote, conditional payments, where money moves only if certain conditions are met, like package arriving. The visionaries group, which are 18 selected from 65 applicants, held workshops to dream up ways the digital euro could boost innovation. Ideas ranged from practical apps to policy tweaks, and it did cover themes like digital receipts, smart payments, transport efficiency, and better accessibility. For example, digital receipts, aka e-receipts. Instead of paper slips, Secure electronic versions would link directly to digital euro transactions. Users get easy access to purchase history for returns, warranties, or budgeting, all stored encrypted so only buyer and seller see details. No peeking by the European Central Bank or others. This cuts costs for shops, reduces paper waste, good for the environment, and adds a digital way to connect with customers. But there's the whole thing of the conditions of those payments. This is seen as a game changer. These automate things like pay on delivery or pay per use, building trust by holding funds until conditions are verified. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where the Quant network comes involved, because this is where they can really, really shine. But let's also face it, there's other key things to get into, and that is transport and mobility. Keep in mind, the digital euro could unify fragmented systems, enabling seamless tap and go for buses, bikes, or tolls with automatic best fare calculations and cross-border settlements. You also have to keep in mind is that inclusion and accessibility. Isn't that the whole point of it all? Yes. Features like kid-friendly wallets with parental controls, AI helpers for people with disabilities, or simple interfaces to make digital payments available to not just some, but to everyone, hence the term all the money. The Pioneers Group tested conditional payments in a mock digital euro setup provided by the European Central Bank. It wasn't the final system, but instead it amplified or simplified testbed, I should say. But it let participants experiment with real scenarios in e-commerce, finance, transport, and more. Results show these could create new services like automated refunds or milestone-based payouts. The digital euro's Europe-wide scope would cut down on borders and fragmentation, opening up business chances and growth. Overall, both groups highlighted the need for ECB to provide a solid, trusted base, like standards and privacy rules under GDPR, while letting private players build cool add-ons. Ideas here are just starting points, not set in stone, but privacy is, in fact, as we know, a big deal. The European Central Bank can't track individuals and users' control over their data, but the participation was free, voluntary, and it showed strong market interest. Future rounds will build on this to keep innovating. In my comprehensive analysis, from what I gather, this report is essentially a progress update on Europe's push for a central bank digital currency, CBDC. And while that sounds scary, it does show the ECB is serious about involving the market early to avoid pitfalls and maximize benefits. Here, I'll give you a breakdown on why it matters and what stood out to me. So number one was innovation focus. The emphasis on collaboration. Those 70 plus participants from various sectors signal the digital euro isn't just a tech upgrade, but it's a platform for new business models. Conditional payments, for example, could reduce fraud and automate everyday transactions. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the Quant network is heavily involved with that due to Quant Authorized. And you better believe the reaction would make Europe more competitive against global players like Alipay or stablecoins. But it's an early stage, but these are prototypes. So real world challenges like tech integration or regulation could slow things down. Let's talk about privacy and trust as priorities. From what I gathered from this detailed report, repeating mentions of encryption, GDPR compliance, and no central tracking address big CBDC fears. For example, government surveillance. This could build public buy-in, but it also limits what the ECB can do. Private firms can handle the fancy stuff, which might lead to uneven rollout if smaller players can't keep up. Number three, economic and social impacts. By reducing fragmentation, for example, unified transport payments, it could boost cross-border trade inclusion. For example, accessible wallets for kids or disabled users, as I pointed out before. Environmentally, ditching paper receipts is a small but smart win. However, success hinges on adoption. If it's not user-friendly, people might stick with cards or apps. Whatever the case be, there's potential risks and gaps, just like anything. This report glosses over costs or timelines. For example, a decision on issuance post-2025 pre-phase. Testing was simulated, so scalability issues might emerge later. Also, while it promotes competition, it could disrupt existing payment giants if the digital euro gains traction. And that disruption is where we get the term all the money. Number five, broader context. The dated September 2025 issue, just before today's data, September 27th, aligns with global CBDC trends. For example, China's digital yuan. Shout out to Redacted. They cover this a lot. But for Europe, it's about sovereignty. And that's keeping control amid big tech's payment dominance. If done right, it can foster growth. If not, it risks being an expansive flop. I don't think this is going to be a flop at all because we retested many of these key things with the RLN and RSN. In short, even though it seems like it was long, this is an optimistic groundwork that's being developed, but the real test is turning ideas into everyday reality while balancing innovation with safeguards. It shows the European Central Bank learning from experiments, which is a positive step toward a modern euro. All right, welcome back. I want to highlight Gilbert Verdian. Like it says here, he's delighted to announce that Quant Network has been selected to create the new payments infrastructure and bank technology of the United Kingdom's tokenized sterling deposits. Now that is referred to as the GBTD. It's a groundbreaking financial market infrastructure initiative led by UK Finance. And remember that PDF I just shared with you from the European Central Bank? How it mentions collaboration? Well, Gilbert points out collaboration with major banks including Lloyds, Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, Santander, and Nationwide. Now, another thing I want to jump back into before I read more from Gilbert Verdian is, even when you jump back into this PDF that we just referenced, what's interesting is Quant Network on page 39 of 41 is the only one referenced here from the Digital Euro Innovation Platform as far as blockchain or DLT related companies, organizations, businesses, and so on. Now, there may be another one here that I'm not familiar with, but that is what I gathered. And if I missed it, hey, I'm human. I'm allowed to miss some key things. But to my knowledge, I didn't see anything else because, again, if you go through this list yourself, you don't really see necessarily anything mentioned about any other key companies that we're familiar with. Like I was thinking, okay, well, what about your Pfizer's? What about your Finastras and so on? I didn't see that on this particular list. All I saw on the list was obviously Quant Network Europe Limited. That is so profound. That is so major to reference that. Okay. And if you're wanting the document, I will link it in the description of my channel. You're more than welcome to dissect this. I do like to share some of my documents if I'm able to share them. All right. Getting back into the Gilbert Verdian highlight, let's take you back to it. He points out our technology has been chosen. Look at what it says here. Chosen for its proven capabilities. Some people get so frustrated with how long it takes for things to get done with Quant, but understand that things need to be tried and tested for a reason. Gilbert points out proven capabilities in interconnecting and interoperating diverse systems and enabling programmability across different forms of money, building on our successful delivery during the RLN's initial experimentation phase. If you're new to my channel, RLN stands for Regulated Liability Network. So this is another update, once again, ladies and gentlemen, about what happened with the RLN. Gilbert also points out this milestone goes beyond improving payments. It's about enabling new forms of programmable money that will fundamentally transform how value is moved and managed. That's also big. And there's some announcements here. All right, so that's good as well, right? Check this out. This was literally mentioned yesterday. People like Miles Braun was sharing it. I also saw it as well, and I meant to get you guys this video out yesterday, but it's been a busy time. Where the case be, don't focus on the whole thing of breaking news. Focus that this is a big deal, and you're going to hear my own perspective about this because I realize a lot of people are sharing this as well, and that's great. So Quant selected to deliver infrastructure for United Kingdom's tokenized sterling deposits project. Again, Gilbert Verdian. One area I want to highlight is literally from Gilbert. Gilbert points out our involvement underscores Quant's leadership in digital finance as we work alongside the UK's leading institutions. Again, not just some ones you never heard of, the leading institutions to build the infrastructure powering tomorrow's economy. All right. I'm glad that Gilbert Verdian, Quant Papa has taken some of these highlights because it makes it a little bit easier. He wants us to focus on this. Number one, trusted by central banks, commercial banks, and payment networks. Don't forget about the thing about payment networks. Quant's ISO 222 native architecture, open source pay script language deliver compliance and scale, proven in projects with the Bank of England, European Central Bank, and the UK Regulated Liability Network. We provide the secure foundation for the future of finance. All right, so at the beginning, you heard me specifically talk about Finternet, okay? Well, think about what Finternet stands for, financial internet. All right, watch this. Here's something big. Shout out to Quant Papa once again, because apparently this was scrubbed from the Quant network. And I will read this verbatim because, again, you're going to miss it if I don't. Introducing QuantNet. Aha. Yes. Aha. No, not, Dave Chappelle, like, aha, Charlie Murphy, show the QNT community your workflow. No, nothing like that. What I'm stating here is introducing QuantNet. Now, Jesse and I have pointed this out. Channing has pointed this out. And give Channing a follow over at King Channing for your consistent QNT updates. He's probably the #1 channel that will give you almost daily QNT updates. So call to action for you to follow Channing over at his channel of King Channing, all one word. Okay? We have talked about the concept of you're not just investing into a token, you're not just investing into a coin, hence XRP. But since it mentions QuantNet, think about this. The next internet, the next financial internet. Again, Google, internet of information, okay? Talk about Quant, internet not of just trust, but also recognizing that you have this whole new internet, okay? The next level of internet. Again, not just internet of information, now being tokenized. So internet of value, internet of trust, okay? That's big, and it has to be regulated. But again, introducing QuantNet. What is this? Why did they scrub it? Well, did this leak? Apparently it did. So what we see here is as the market shifts from traditional rails to tokenized money markets and digital assets, QuantNet is the programmable money infrastructure that enables banks to deliver programmable settlement, tokenized deposits, MMFs, and securities. Now, some of you guys may wonder, of course, what MMF stands for. And basically, like it says here, MM Finance is a decentralized DEX and automated market maker. Well, that's MM Finance. I don't want to recognize them. But what I do want to recognize is what is referred to as money market funds, okay? This is more modern and institutional definition of MMFs in crypto, because for one, it involves bridging traditional financial products with blockchain technology. Well, how about helping some of those ones that are the bridge, like your XRPs and so on, by having it be programmable? I think you understand where we're going with this. And the other thing I want to jump back into is, remember how we mentioned that this has been scrubbed? Like, literally, I'm telling you, if you did a Google search, and I'll show you an example, it has been scrubbed. Introducing QuantNet. Looked all over for this. No mention about this. Literally, no mention whatsoever about this. Like this other one, December 2021, that is not the same thing. Like, you know, there's other companies with similar names. But if you go through this, there's literally nothing about this from what I've seen. Now, there might be some people in the QNT community that have shared this, maybe on Telegram and so on, and hey, kudos to you. But from what I've seen personally, this is scrubbed. So again, why would they want to scrub something so important such as this? Because they weren't ready to share it yet. Again, I think, if anything, maybe some MDAs and so on. And we'll find out more about this. This will come out in due time. The other area I want to jump into is taking you over to this. Again, big up to our brother in the space, you know, the guy with no face, Quant Papa. Because Quant Papa has been helping us out for years, okay? If you go to ukfinance.org, you see specifically this, and this is big. It says specifically, they announce live pilot phase to deliver tokenized sterling deposits. Again, this matches up with Quant. UK Finance has launched a collaborative industry pilot project to deliver the first UK live transactions of tokenized sterling deposits, the GBTD. These tokenized deposits are a digital representation of traditional sterling commercial bank money. They retain the trust and regulatory protections of conventional deposits while offering benefits such as enhanced speed and fraud protection. That part about enhanced speed and fraud protection, who would have the best technology for that? Quant with what? Quant authorized. Don't ever forget about the product showcase of what Quant offers and what they deliver. Look what it says here. Building on success of the UK Regulated Liability Network, RLN project's earlier phases, this pilot phase will position the UK as a leader in payments innovation. The United Kingdom. Ever wonder why the UK is always leading the charge for this? There's a specific reason for that. And look what it also mentions. Delivering tokenized deposits and programmable payments against 3 use cases. Do they reference anything about person-to-person? They do. Watch this. Person-to-person payments via online marketplaces, reducing fraud and enhancing buyer and seller confidence. And this part, I think, is really, really big because it points out remortgaging processes, improving transparency, speeding up transactions, and mitigating conveyancing of fraud. In this part, digital asset settlement, connecting tokenized customer money to digital assets for seamless exchange. That's also big because that tells us that we're going to use Quant's Overledger. As we've shown in other videos with that demo, you're not settling in QNT. QNT is used as a toll booth for all bridges worldwide. That's a lot of bridges. But more importantly, for RTGS, real-time gross settlements, we would probably settle with something like Ripple XRP. If it was peer-to-peer, retail, something like XLM. And what you also saw in the documentation, which we'll get more further into on another day, I'll dissect it more, even XDC stands out in this. The pilot will run until mid-2026, aims to demonstrate tangible benefits to customers, businesses, and the wider UK economy. These include giving users greater control over their payments, stronger fraud prevention, and more efficient settlement processes. This is so big. I will read this part as well. This is something I don't want to dismiss. This project forms a vital part of the UK's effort to deliver next-generation money and payments via GBTT, GBTD, excuse me, by applying new digital technologies in the form or to the form of money most widely used by consumers and businesses today. It will also enable UK commercial bank money to support government ambitions for growth and innovation, unlike the current plans of digital gilt. I cited this a while back. Interesting how that came into fruition. And the National Payments Vision, NPV. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so huge because it tells you literally how everything came into fruition. We have cited some of these things dating all the way back to 2022. The platform will be fully interoperable. Gee, I wonder how that will be done. Maybe through Quant's Overledger platform? Of course. And like I said, fully interoperable between new forms of digital money, payment systems. So again, those payment systems like your Ripple with XRP, your Stellar, so many of them, right? It also offers tokenization as a service, ensuring that organizations without their own tokenized deposits capabilities can participate, right? Because the RLN already pushed out that initiative to have market participants show up. Who led that charge? Oh, no big deal. Citi, right? Tony McLaughlin referenced some of these things. This all came true. All right, more information in regards to this. And again, big up to Quant Papa in regard to it all. Remember how we talked about that key area that was scrubbed, just in case you forgot? It's literally this right here, where we mentioned specifically the whole idea of QuantNet. Absolutely. Well, check this out. This is really, really important. There is a reference here. He goes deep, as in Quant Papa. Let's get into it. So we know that Quant is the infrastructure of money. We've been there and done that. But watch this. They point out the whole thing of their technology. And again, what does it show in the highlight? QuantNet infrastructure enabling banks to move money securely across blockchain and traditional systems with full compliance. We've been there and done that with QuantFlow, which is awesome. We've been there and done that when it comes to Quant Fusion and Overledger. But now this whole thing about specifically QuantNet, that's interesting. And who they serve, banks, corporates, institutional DeFi, capital markets. Again, that should be highlighted because why highlight or get into the whole thing of capital markets, Maximus? Again, Larry Fink, BlackRock, point out capital markets ecosystems and how big they will be moving forward. You see bond tokenization, equity settlements, collateral optimization, atomic settlement. That part about equity, remember what we just referenced in regards to mortgages? This all adds up. And why do the institutions pick them? Because they have patented ISO 222 native architecture proven with Bank of England, ECB, which I just showed you that document, and again, those programs. This is such a big, big deal. And the part that's chopped off on the bottom, which it wasn't, references Regulated Liability Network and PayScript, of course, from Quant. I'm glad I caught that. Again, very, very bottom right. All right, getting further into this, watch this. Honorable shout to Zebec. Zebec is, of course, participating in SIBOS. And we see that Zebec is literally, this is awesome, paging Rue Black. What do we see here? The Zebec network is literally only one booth away from Quant. There's only Sigma 360 that's in between them. That is really, really cool. Kind of makes you wonder if they're going to go over and maybe talk to each other. Again, I point out a lot of key things about Zebec partners, how they have Quant Overledger integration. Anyway, just throwing that out there. All right, a little bit more about this. Check this out. This is cool. 18th of September, Quant Overledger documentation update. What do we have? Here is the final pre-test release update for Quant Fusion. I don't know if anybody really shared this. Where to provide feedback. Maybe somebody like Tokenizer. Give Tokenizer a follow. He deserves it. So where to provide feedback. There are multiple places you can provide feedback, including if you're looking to build on Fusion. But the bottom line is, look what it says here in the update. Firstly, we're thankful for the enthusiastic response regarding Quant Fusion and the ongoing engagement around its multi-ledger roll-up testnet launch. What happens when we get to mainnet? Mainnet would have things represented on chain, right? People are still complaining about Quant at these prices. And the Patreon, you guys already know, I already loaded up big time on that. But whatever the case be, while I hit my goals, did you hit yours as well? Are you going to get to QNT when the prices are sky high? Probably not. But there will shortly be an official Quant announcement of testnet launch. Ahead of that, we provide some final pre-launch updates. Before we launch, reconsider the networks that our multi-ledger rollup will start connected to. And here's what is interesting. Decision point. Should we launch the rollup testnet with the same 3 testnet connections DevNet began with? Ethereum, Sequoia, Polygon, Avalanche, and so on. But we want to launch 3 networks for demonstration, simplicity. We'll add other networks later. Look what it mentions here. The rollup testnet now will launch with the following 3 network connections. Ethereum, Sequoia testnet. So right there, again, think about Quant, Overledger, and especially when we talk about this layer 2.5, right? So this, in my opinion, is the answer, of course, like we mentioned in the past, about how Quant is going to save Ethereum as far as scalability issues, which is absolutely major. That is something that's very unsung and not talked about enough. But it mentions Polygon, and look at what it mentions about Quant. Quant Besu private network. My God, Remember, I called this before. I said to you guys that Quant, technically speaking, the QNT token is the unofficial Hyperledger token. And we know that Hyperledger bests you. That's interesting. And it points out that this way we will demonstrate on day one how liquidity from public and permission networks can be merged in a simple and secure manner to create a unified token layer. This is a major update, and it's not being talked about enough. A unified token layer. Again, call to action. Shout out to Jesse of Apex Crypto Consulting NFA. We'll have to dissect this later. This is juicy. Tech-wise, we have continued our detailed audit analysis, performed significant tests on our unified token concept. So when we talk about a unified ledger, ladies and gentlemen, this is such a big, wow, what an Easter egg. This was a great find. Glad to share this with you guys because it pounds home the research that has been displayed not only on this channel, but many awesome researchers have shared these concepts with you, especially Jesse, when he mentioned, for example, you know, trying to trick us when it comes to the whole thing of a unified ledger. Now we have examples of a unified token. Does this get scrubbed? I don't know. But whatever the case be, at least this video will exist. Getting further into this and why it matters, this is quite a deep dive. You will see some things here. It's the next steps. The official Quant announcement on the multi-ledger rollup testnet launch will occur not immediately, but imminently, and include a fixed release date. So this is really big, and again, updated 9 days ago. All right, what we're going to do now is going to play this key area because we talked about Finternet. Look what it mentions in regards to the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub from Agustín Carstens. Now, this is a little dated, but you may have never heard this perspective shared in this light. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this key area. Again, consider smashing that like. You're going to want to learn about why this is so important and why most people are not delivering you this information. Here we go.
Standard innovation management methodologies such as design thinking and agile, which are well known in the field of technology. And to do the work, the hub collaborates with many different stakeholders, including the host central banks and other central banks, the standard setting bodies, BIS departments, groups such as the Consultative Group of Innovation on the Digital Economy, academia, and the private sector. 2 years ago, the Innovation Hub was vested with its mandate and important guidance from the board, but everything else had to be built from scratch. Like a railway system, the Innovation Hub had to build its railway stations, hire workers, build tracks, and start sending trains down those tracks.
Jeez, I mean, he's literally telling you about XRP, and he's literally telling you about the railway system. Who's part of that railway system, like the plumbing, your quants, right, for the interoperability, connecting all railways, all train stations. It's literally there. A little bit more about what we have. Let's talk about XRP. Shout out to our brother in space, Smoke. He be followed over at SMQKEDQG for premium content. Check out his smoke room. He says, yes, Ripple is already classified as a neobank, because if you were to watch this whole thing from Agustín Carstens, he mentions specifically things about Neo, okay? Again, I don't want to play the whole thing because it'll make the video too long. But again, Agustín Carstens mentions like the Neo systems, the Neo banks, and so on. So again, Ripple is already classified as a Neo bank. Look at this. This is good stuff. So what do we have? Well, zooming in a little bit about this, is from CPG.de. And what's interesting here is the highlight. The neobanks like Revolut or Ripple will probably lose business and possibly engage in a price war. This is an interest of the European Union and its citizens. That's interesting because, again, Revolut, as we know, let me blow this up a little bit more. Sorry about that. Revolut, as we know, owns, I think, a minimum of 26, maybe even higher, 30,000 QNT. That's big. So for one, when we talk about it all, interesting to see the citation about Revolut or Ripple. Again, the neobanks like Revolut or Ripple will probably lose business and possibly engage in a price war. This is an interest of the European Union and its citizens. My goodness. So again, even further up, instant credit transfer initiative, earn quite well, correspond banks with existing systems, albeit in the wholesale area for large value payments. Again, large value payments. Who would capture that value probably more than anybody else out there? It's XRP. Because again, capturing, for example, that and doing real-time gross settlements, 3 to 5 seconds, and providing on-demand liquidity. Again, remember how we talked about lender last resort? Again, check out some of the other videos about that. A little bit more about this. Here's another reference about the good thing Ripple is already classified as a digital neobank. If you know, you know. And what we see here from Smoke, he points out this. This is good stuff. What we have here, citation is from the financialbrand.com, the Financial Brand Neobank Tracker. Again, financial, Finternet, financial internet. What is a digital bank? We kind of know about that, but like it says, keep in mind, digital bank does not need a full banking license or charge to qualify for the list of digital banks. Then we see what's happening recently in the news of Ripple literally applying to be what? Their own bank. That's That's so major to get into, and so good to reference. As we also get further into it, here's another key highlight. Let's highlight this. Types of digital bank providers in the list. And as you see here, talks about digital banking, payments, lending, investments, PFM tools, which facilitate analysis of spending patterns, right, budgets and so on, and financial education. All right, watch this. This also gets good. Take it to this next page. Interesting to see this because Smoke has this visual, points directly to Ripple. Yes, Ripple. Interesting to see this because, like it says, Ripple provides one frictionless experience to send money globally using the power of blockchain. And again, from that original citation, and just in case you missed some of that, let's pull that up again. This actually comes from thefinancialbrand.com. All right, before we wrap this up, I want to point out this because we did mention the whole thing of the Finternet. So this is major as well. The Finternet will integrate central bank money, commercial bank money, and private money into a digital ecosystem. All the money. And again, I know I shared that intro before. I had to share it again on this one because it's so big. And as we see here in Smoke's highlights, look what it mentions here. Top part, the U.S. dollar emerging technology and geopolitical risk and the future financial system. Again, that financial system. The future payments landscape in the highlight will likely integrate central bank money, commercial bank money, and private money as it evolves from analog to digital in Finternet ecosystem. Finternet ecosystem. Okay, again, all the money. People saying, oh, Maximus Crypto, you don't understand tokenomics. I understand research, and I could put 2 and 2 together, and I think people that really have understood this right understand all the money. All right, people are looking at this only from the perspective of, you know, basic tokenomics and market cap. I'm telling you flat out, that's good to reference. But when you talk about all the money, it's literally talking about the entire new financial internet, capturing an internet. That should be your key takeaway, not everything else that all these other people are sharing with you, trying to say and fill your mind with, I hate to say, a lot of bad information. Data-driven recommendations. To preserve the benefits that accrue from the United States dollar's widespread use, the United States should accelerate its engagement with central banks, commercial banks, other financial market infrastructure entities, and standards bodies on the digital assets ecosystem. And like it says here, MITRE recommends the following actions. And like you see here, MITRE recommends the next administration within 30 days direct the Financial Stability Oversight Council, Office of Financial Research, and other regulators to stress test these new systems to limit adverse effects and develop responsive regulation downstream of legislation. Again, back to the PDF, because in this PDF, we know that we had some examples that we mentioned before, specifically of what? How they're going to have some test phases, you know? Yeah, and this was September 2025. So there you have it. Hopefully you appreciate this deep dive. And again, the Finternet, about to create a $10,000 XRP and a $100,000 QNT explosion. Not necessarily tomorrow, but if anything, why would you want to wait until all this stuff blows up and then, oh, now I'm going to jump in? Getting anything at the very top of the mountain is not a recipe for success. And I think most of us realize that, but just another disclaimer. Hey, do me a solid if you listen to this entire outline and type in this key person, yes, person, into the comments because he deserves your follow. And that is King Channing, who can be followed over at King Channing because he deserves your follow because he covers QNT literally almost every single day. I used to do that, but I got a lot of other stuff I need to cover as well. But if you want more QNT on a consistent basis, he is your go-to platform for doing just that. So shout out to Channing. Looking forward to doing a collaboration with him in the future. Hey, support our brothers and sisters that are in this space because they have some great material. So that's all I have for you today. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. May the Lord Jesus bless you all. You have a great weekend. We'll see you on the next one.